What's up, you guys? I'm not amazing, I'm just mediocre, here with another Apex Legends Bootcamp for you, Episode 2. If you haven't seen Episode 1, that's okay. I will make sure to leave a link at the end of this video that was all tips about what you could practice inside the training zone stress-free. This episode will be 10 tips about things that you have to do inside the game. 10 tips about how to win more games in Apex Legends. And we're going to get started right away with tip number 1. If we're talking about actually surviving a long time and winning games, I generally avoid the hot spots and I go for kind of mild spots just outside of hot zones. One of my favorite over there is Watchtower North, and just to get looted up before I get into an engagement. And this leads us into tip number 2 about getting to your location. Make sure for your drop speed. Now you'll notice that this is some older footage, and so the flying is a little bit slower, less responsive, but the speed still applies. You want to generally fluctuate, dive down, gather speed till about 145 meters, and then level out till about 135. Dive back down, and this way you can travel really far across the map. Now with the new update, pretty much entirely across the map from the jump ship, which is really cool. And this leads us into tip number 3, which is get to know your kind of loot patterns, or the general trail, the path that you're going to carve across, because the first spot you go to, the random number generator might not give you the gun you want, or even any gun at all. And the first thing you need to do is get that gun, get armed and armored as soon as possible. So you need to start to memorize any and all of these different jump locations so you can quickly get looted up, gather equipment, and be ready for the fight. And this is going to lead us into tip number 4. And this is, as you're moving across the map, make sure you guys stick together. Notice as you're looking at the map right there, I'm sticking relatively close to my teammates. None of us are really far away in drastically different areas. It's very important you move this way, because if you're caught by yourself, it's very easy to get eliminated by the multitude of enemies that are across the map, or get pinched. And kind of in conjunction with this, make sure you pay attention to the circle. Yeah, your characters call it out to you, but sometimes it's easy to get caught up in fights or something like that, or looting, and forget the circle's coming at you, and you need to make sure you pay attention to that thing. In conjunction with tip number 4 here is just to make sure that you are making use of cover, especially if you're getting under fire. There's houses all around, trees, rocks, cliff sides, all kinds of stuff that you can get behind and reposition in order to engage or disengage that enemy that attacked you, because having a good position in this game is super important. Moving as a team is super important. Speaking of teamwork, this leads us on to tip number 5, which is generally being a good teammate by using the ping system, especially for other important equipment. Like if you see a purple thing around that you don't need, call it out for somebody. They might need it. Even if you don't have that light weapon or that heavy weapon, your friends might, and they might need it. Even if you're with randoms, they need things too, and they will like you for it. Don't be afraid to also learn to call out your own things. Any and all of these things in your menu, you can ping to call out. You ping out on your gun, you will ask for that ammo. If you ping on any of the attachments, you'll ask for that attachment. If you ping on any of your helmet, shield, backpack, your character will say, I need a helmet, shield, or backpack. And if you are a nice teammate, and if you give people things, and if you ask for things, you may receive. Your friends may call out very cool stuff for you to pick up too. And so generally just kind of like you get more bees with honey than vinegar, as my dad always said. And I guess most important thing you should ping out of any of these is enemies, because information is power in this game. It's all about being the last one alive, and you need to know what those bad guys are. And it's just going to lead us into tip number 6. Is once you know where those enemies are, you're going to want to get into these fights as a team. Number 1, if you're in a one-on-one fight, that's a 50-50 fight, at best. If you have 2-on-1, you're increasing the odds automatically. You'll easily be able to catch targets off guard as they stare at your teammates, trying to get a beat on them, sneaking up on them, getting quick, easy knocks on those guys. And then just in general, having 2 targets in front of you can be very flustering, and you can take advantage of this heightened tension to just mow down those opponents. So always go into these battles together. Even if you're low on health, you can be a simple door block. Keep somebody trapped somewhere so you can get them down there all together. And then even if you're, knocked down, you want to be close enough that your teammates can pick you up, because having 3 guns in a battle is always better than 2. Even if you're low health, maybe you have a chance to get around a corner, get that shield back on, and be able to pump those last rounds in and put the squad down. This moves us on to tip number 7, which is to always try to prey on the weak. Like, look out for those respawn ships, people just coming in. Try to third-party things. Look out for people already in the middle of fights. Don't worry, you'll see them. There'll be gun battles going off. You want to make sure you're listening out for those. You can hear those from a long distance, and you'll generally be able to tell what's going on, like who's going on. If there's a Gibraltar around, you'll hear those bombardments, and you want to get in these fights because these people are going to be weak and they're going to be easy. Number 1, they're going to be distracted. Number 2, they're probably already going to be low health from already being inside that fight. So make sure you're always going into these kind of situations where you know the team is already weak and you already have an advantage on them, like in these situations where you have a respawn. You also want to make sure you're tossing out those throwables, and that's actually tip number 8. Make sure you use your throwables because they will always leave an enemy team more flustered. You can use them to flush enemies out of positions and get them to where you want to be, but then you can also be lucky and land some great hits, knock some people, take out their armor entirely maybe, or if you get some really nice grenades, know exactly where your opponent is, you can take them out entirely. And this is going to lead us into tip number 9, which is make sure you are using your character's abilities. Doesn't matter which character you are, every single character in this game has special, unique things that will help both themselves survive in a firefight and their team survive throughout the game in general. Your Pathfinder, shoot those zip lines, help your team get across the map. Same goes with the character like Wraith. You want to put those portals down, help your teammates get around, maybe away from the circle if it's a really far distance away. Maybe if you are Lifeline, you want to drop those care packages. Doesn't matter which character you are, your abilities can be used to help in fights, to help supply your teammates, and just generally survive this game. So think about which character is your favorite and let me know in the comments below when we move on to tip number 10, which is probably the biggest, most important tip on this entire list. Remember to actually try to do these things in the game. It's super easy to get excited and distracted, but if you don't do things like ping enemies, your friends won't be able to cover you while you try to pull off your self-revive. If you're not a good teammate, maybe your whole team isn't decked out with all the purple equipment that they need or gold stuff that they need to win this final firefight. And maybe if you haven't been a nice enough teammate, your teams aren't going to be willing to sacrifice themselves for you. Complete strangers willing to put their fake lives on the line to get this champion in this imaginary video game battle royale. But my friend here, Daily Doink, he'd actually run out of ammo. We're up against this final guy, and I'm the only one with a functioning gun left. So we've penned him right here behind this tank, and Daily Doink actually pushes forward with no weapons and uses himself as just a giant human distraction. So I can pull out these last shots and get ourselves the champion squad. And it's so important to use teamwork like that. Communicate. Move together so you can fight enemies together. So your friends can cover you while you're pulling off that self-revive, or while you're getting revived yourself, putting on those shields. We move into another game. We actually won 2 games in a row that night. This is that third party you had seen us get into earlier. Here I am using my throwables like I talked about earlier. Remembering to use those throwables in the middle of a battle. We kind of like pin this last guy, the Pathfinder, down, chase him to a nice open field where he has no cover, and I can maul him down, and we got a nice easy champion squad again because we use those tactics of preying on the weak and going for those third parties or those respawn ships. Now, this tactic may not be so successful in the future, because guess what we got coming? Season 2, right around the corner. We're going to have Watson coming, and definitely purchasing her as soon as she comes out, playing her as much as I can so I can release a character guide for you guys. And just let me know, I can probably get at least one more character guide done between now and then. Let me know what your favorite character is down in the comments below, and which one you'd like me to do a guide on next. I also have an episode of Legends of Kings Canyon up, so make sure you subscribe if you want to see all this coming content. Leave a like if you enjoyed this tips video. I'm Meaty Yogurt, and I'm out.